You see, in our village, the gods have their favorite, and Adetola was clearly one of them. From the moment he was born, the elders whispered that he was beautifully sculpted by divine hands. And if you ask the young ladies, they will tell you the gods were just showing off that day. Now, Adetola wasn't just handsome, he was charming, the kind of charm that could turn a quarrel into laughter or a burning gathering into a festival. People flocked to him like bees to honey. It didn't matter if you were old or young. Where Adetola was, you wanted to be. He had this easy way of making you feel like the world wasn't such a bad place after all. But let me not deceive you. Adetola had his flaws. You see, the boy didn't listen. His ears were only for decoration. You could be telling him, Adetola, don't touch that fire. It will burn you. And before you finished your sentence, you'd already be nursing a burn. He paid more attention to himself than anything or anyone else. Some would call it confidence, others plain stubbornness. Yet, we, his friends, put up with him. Why? Because Adetola had his grace, a kind of magic about him that made you forgive him before you even finished getting angry. Even when he annoyed you, it flashed that mischievous smile, and just like that, your anger will melt away like palm oil in hot soup. Sometimes, I wonder if the gods gave him all that charm as a blessing or as a test for the rest of us. But one thing was certain with Adetola, life was never boring. Adetola, handsome, noble-minded, and kind-hearted. So they say. But if you knew him well, you would know he loved himself too much. Sometimes it seems like he thought the gods spent a little extra time on him and needed constant praise for their work. One day, as we returned from the farm, laughing and teasing one another, we met an old woman by the roadside. She looked worn out, with dirt streaked on her wrapper and a heavy bundle of firewood balanced awkwardly on her head. Her eyes scanned us and landed on Adetola. "Young man, please help me with my load," she said softly. Now, anyone else would have jumped to assist, but not Adetola. Oh no, he stepped back, looking at the woman as if she were a pile of compost. "Do you know who we are talking to?" He scoffed, brushing imaginary dust off his shoulder. "If I carry that firewood, your death will stain my beauty." We all froze, unsure whether to laugh or to scold him. The old woman sighed, muttered something under her breath, and shuffled away. I swear, for a moment, the air felt heavier, like she'd left her burden with us instead. It wasn't the first time Adetola had acted this way. His mother often warned him, "Adetola, beauty is a gift, not a shield. Help others. It won't dull your shine." But did he listen? Of course not. He just smiled, adjust his beats, and move on as if the world revolved around him. That day, though, something felt different. Maybe it was the way the old woman looked at him, or maybe the gods were taking notes. Either way, I had a feeling Adetola's love for his reflection will soon lead him into a lesson he wouldn't forget. But let me not get ahead of myself. The story is just unfolding. Stay with me. Now, let me introduce you to the rest of us, the merry band of friends who somehow managed to keep up with Adetola and his ways. First, there was Sheyi, the thinker of the group. Sheyi was sharp-witted, always ready with advice or a quick joke to lighten the mood. He was married to Bisi, a woman as clever as he was, and their home was filled with laughter and endless debates over the smallest things. Sheyi could solve most problems, but even he couldn't fix Adetola's stubbornness. Then we had Dimeji, the quiet one. Don't mistake his silence for weakness. Dimeji had a strength that came from his calm. He married Adebimpe, a gentle soul who matched his quiet nature perfectly. Together, they were like a peaceful river, steady and reliable. Dimeji rarely spoke, but when he did, it was worth listening to. And then there was me, Ayola, the storyteller, the voice behind this tale. I married Abike, very fiery match. She never let me get away with anything, and I loved her for it. Our home was loud, warm, and always alive with stories. All of us were hardworking, loyal, and happy with our wives. Then Adetola was a different story. Adetola believed no woman was worthy of his beauty. Why should I settle? He would say, puffing his chest. The gods made me special. My wife must be divine or nothing at all. We tried reasoning with him. His parents begged him, Adetola, marry a good woman, build a family. But no, he was adamant. Unless he found a woman whose beauty could rival his own, he would remain single. His arrogance about this was unmatched. I will search far and wide if I must, he declared. His arrogance about this was unmatched. I will search far and wide if I must, he declared one evening, his voice dripping with pride. True to his word, he decided to travel to distant villages in search of his so-called divine beauty. We could have left him to his madness, but what are friends for, if not to endure each other's imperfections? So, we packed our bags and joined him. The journey promised to be long, and knowing Adetola, it would be nothing short of dramatic. And so, with laughter in our hearts and a bit of doubt in our minds, we set out. This journey we knew would change everything. Our first stop was Shongoteru, a lively village not far from home. The people there were kind, always smiling, and eager to share whatever they had. And their women, beautiful. Their skin glowed like the morning sun, and their laughter was as sweet as palm wine. But trust Adetola to find a problem. They are too fat, he whispered, scrunching his nose like he'd smell something foul. I can't marry someone who looks like they've been eating yams all day. We couldn't help but laugh. But she, ever the serious one, tried to persuade him. Adetola, beauty is more than appearances. Look at how welcoming these people are. Let's be honest, Adetola replied with a grin. If I marry here, I'll spend more time rolling my wife than walking with her. We burst into laughter, but deep down, we knew he wasn't joking. So, off we went again, this time to Iludu, another nearby village. If Shongoteru was warm, Iludu was on fire with hospitality. They welcomed us with music, food, and laughter. The women were graceful, their dark skin shining like polished ebony. But Adetola, he sighed dramatically, shaking his head. Too dark. I can't live in perpetual darkness. I need light, brightness, beauty that can glow even in the moonlight. We were shocked, and unfortunately, the villagers overheard him. Before we knew it, they chased us out with sticks and curses, shouting, "Go and find your brightness elsewhere." By the time we caught our breath outside the village, we were furious. Dimeji, who rarely spoke, finally lost his cool. Adetola, we are done. You are on your own now. Even Sheyi nodded. We've followed you this far, but this is madness. Realizing he had pushed us too far, Adetola fell to his knees. My friends, forgive me. If I don't find my beauty in the next village, I promise to return home and marry someone from our village. We hesitated but finally agreed. After all, how much trouble could one last stop bring? Little did we know. When we arrived in Olukuta, it was clear we weren't in just any village. This place was different. The streets were spotless. The houses perfectly aligned, and everyone looked serious, like they had a meeting with the gods they couldn't miss. Even the chickens looked disciplined, scratching the ground in straight lines. Now, we, Adetola and his merry band of troublemakers, didn't exactly blend in. The moment we stepped into the village square, people stared at us like we were freshly bought puppies at the market, curious, out of place, and maybe a little suspicious. Before we could figure out what was going on, a group of bully guards surrounded us. "You are strangers," one of them barked, his voice sharp enough to hurt him. "What is your business here?" Adetola, being himself, puffed up like a rooster. "We are travelers on an important mission." "Spies!" another guard interrupted, waving his spear. "Take them!" And just like that, we were marched off like common criminals. No explanations, no negotiations. Before we could blink, we were locked up in a small, dark cell with no food, no water, and no dignity. At first, we sat in silence, glaring at Adetola. Finally, Sheyi exploded. "This is your fault, Adetola. If you had just picked one of the beautiful women we've seen, we would be enjoying pounded yam and bushmeat right now, not sitting in a cell." Not sitting in a cell. Dimeji nodded, his calm demeanor cracking. "I should have stayed home. My wife warned me about following you on this goose chasing." Adetola, ever the drama king, threw his hands in the air. "How is it my fault that people don't understand my standard of beauty? I am the victim here." That set us off. Before we knew it, we were arguing, shouting over each other, and yes, almost throwing punches. But hunger has a way of humbling even the proudest men. By nightfall, we were too tired to fight. Sheyi sighed, leaning against the wall. "You know, if we ever get out of here, I am writing a song about this." "What will you call it?" I asked. He smirked. "Locked Up for Love, the Adetola Chronicles." We burst into laughter, weak and starving as we were. Even Adetola joined in, his ego momentarily deflated. "At least I'll be famous," he joked. The next morning, the guards came for us. "The king has returned. He will decide your fate." As we were marched to the palace, Adetola whispered, "Maybe the king will be impressed by my beauty. We all groaned. Some lessons, it seemed, would take longer to learn. We sat in the grand palace hall, our clothes slightly rumpled from our cell adventure, but our spirits lifted by the king's hospitality. The interrogation had been intense, like being grilled by elders at a family meeting. But once they were convinced we weren't spies, they treated us like special guests. The king himself was an imposing figure with a deep voice and a sharp gaze. Yet, even he couldn't hide his fascination with Adetola's beauty. He kept looking at him, nodding approvingly. One of the chiefs, a stout man with a booming laugh, couldn't resist leaning over and saying, "Young man, you could be a prince in this land." Adetola, as you might expect, took the compliment like a child offered honey. "Well, the gods did take their time on me," he said, flashing his most charming smile. Then, as we were served a feast fit for gods, Adetola froze mid-bite. His eyes locked onto a figure entering the hall, a woman so beautiful it seemed the sun had sent her as a gift. Her grace, her adorned attire, her flawless features. Adetola whispered, "That one, she meets my standard. That one, she meets my standard." One of the chiefs shocked me. "Ha, you have good eyes. That's one of the princesses. But there are 6 others just as beautiful. The king allows you to choose one, and he promises wealth and honor if you marry her." We, his friends, exchanged looks of disbelief. How did this man, who caused us so much trouble, stumble into for such fortune? We, his friends, exchanged looks of disbelief. How did this man, who caused us so much trouble, stumble into such fortune? But Adetola, basking in his luck, hardly noticed our amazement. The king explained the rules. Adetola would enter one of 7 rooms, each belonging to a princess. Whichever room he entered, the princess inside would become his wife. But as with everything in life, there was a twist. On the 3rd day, the king's speaker announced the benefits tied to each room. The first room holds 400 loads of wealth, the second 500, the third 700, and the last 1000. But beware, the 4th room offers no reward, only wisdom. His tone grew serious. Choose wisely, for beauty is not always where gold resides." The warnings were wrapped in simple proverbs, but Adetola, true to form, didn't listen. He heard only one thing: the room with the highest reward. The morning of the decision day arrived, with all the pomp and fanfare one could expect in Olokuta. The palace courtyard was alive with music, the scent of roasted meats, and curious villagers whispering about the stranger who was about to choose a bride. Adetola, dressed in fine robes gifted by the king, looked every bit the part of a man ready to marry into royalty and to win unimaginable wealth in the process. As for us, his loyal friends, we stood off to the side, watching the scene unfold. Sheyi, always quick with a quip, whispered, "This will either be the luckiest day of Adetola's life or the most entertaining day of ours." The palace steward began to lead Adetola through the hallway, where the 7 doors awaited. Young man, he said, his voice measured. Remember, the doors are not what they seem. Wisdom is hidden in plain sight. But Adetola wasn't listening. Oh no, our dear friend was too busy strutting like a peacock, glancing back at us with a smirk. You see, my friends, he said, I told you the gods favor me. Soon, I will be married to the most beautiful woman in this kingdom, and I will be rich beyond your wildest dreams. Maybe I will even send you a few coins when I am done counting my gold. He danced to and fro before the first door, tapping it lightly. This one promises wealth, but not enough for a man of my taste. He moved to the second and third doors, mimicking exaggerated contemplation. Tempting, but I deserve more. We rolled our eyes, trying not to laugh too loudly, but he was too wrapped up in his own performance to notice. When he reached the fourth door, the one with no promised reward, he didn't even pause. Why waste my time on nothing? He scoffed, brushing past it as if it insulted him personally. Finally, he arrived at the seventh door. His chest puffed out like a rooster, ready for battle. This is it, he declared, turning to give us one last mocking grin. The gods have led me to the pinnacle of beauty and wealth. With a dramatic flourish, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. For a moment, there was silence. Then we heard it, a strangled gasp, followed by a stunned "Oh!" We leaned in, curiosity getting the better of us, and there she was, the princess of the seventh room, a dwarf, sitting confidently on a grand throne, her expression one of quiet amusement. She looked at Adetola as if she had been expecting him all along. Adetola stumbled backward, his confidence shattered. This can't be right, he stammered. His voice barely above a whisper. The king entered, his face a mix of sternness and humor. Adetola, he said, beauty is not always where gold resides. You made your choice, and now you must honor it. We tried, how we tried not to laugh, but the irony was too much. The Meiji snorted. We tried, how we tried not to laugh, but the irony was too much. The Meiji snorted. Sheyi doubled over, and I had to cover my mouth to keep from bursting out loud. So much for divine beauty, Sheyi muttered between laughs. Adetola's face turned red with a mix of anger and humiliation. He couldn't even look at us as we teased him mercilessly on the way out of the palace. But the teasing stopped when he announced, I can't go home, not like this. Are you serious? I asked, still catching my breath from laughing. He nodded, his shoulders slumping. What will people say? Adetola, the man who sought perfection, married the princess half his height. I would rather stay here than face the shame. And so, Adetola stayed behind in Olokuta, bound by the choice he had made. As for us, we journeyed back to our village, laughing and shaking our heads. If nothing else, Adetola had given us a story we would tell for generations.